Apothecary Diaries, Season 2, Episode 8. Is that... Yeah, Episode 32, The Empress Dowager. Uh-oh. Why the punishment? Oh, for playing with lizards? Get over it. And that's exactly what happened. Her prophecy came true. Yeah, I was thinking she might actually like it. Right, and think of all the treasures that are in there. You know what? That is legitimate. Like, honestly, same. Give me smaller and more free than, like, a huge mansion, but, like, I gotta tiptoe around everywhere. But then in Melba's case, gigantic room, and you don't have to tiptoe around anymore. And think about all the treasures in there. Hey, Lady Hongyang, can I live in a storage shed? Abandoned. Don't say that too loudly now. I like how we're airing our grievances right in front of her. Space, privacy, to make medicine, which is illegal. Freedom to collect insect and lizard tails, or whatever my heart desires. That's, yeah, we know her. That's not you, that's, the other lady. That too, yeah. Oh yeah, maybe it is you. It's her! I think it's her. It's both of you. You don't need to apologize for any of this. She's like awfully suspicious. See? Yeah, what is she up to? That's extremely unhelpful. Are you asking for money? What is this? I may have seen her for a price. A bribe. So it's come to this after all. Is it a lizard tail? Oh. Oh my god, what a gift. And they know immediately what it is too. She used the nuclear option. I feel like you might stumble into something that is not great. Mosquitoes. Amazing that you have that, but I shouldn't be surprised. Oh, that got unpleasant. And also relevant to the current plotline. When you were little, you used to do this? Man, that's kind of bleak. And like you knew what it was for? Man, that was a real education at the courtesan house. Hide the scent. There's 2 kids on the way. Oh, so she didn't tell them. I guess you gotta keep it a secret. Balsam again. Mercury! Right. Where's the mercury coming from? Interesting. Who is the shadowy figure? Is it her? Okay. It's either her, and that was like one of those things where the killer reveals themselves right at the moment you're talking about the killer, like who could the killer be? And then they walk into frame. Or deliberately a red herring, playing on that exact trope. So in other words, this is extremely unhelpful commentary. Because basically what I'm saying is it's either her or it's not her. But what color are her eyes? Yellow. That's an odd one. It's exactly like her. She's about to do the same thing maybe. We've seen her do this before for plants and like oxbizour. Oh, they have these bugs are everywhere here. Oh no, you took a life. Honestly though, those insects, they have them here and it seems like they just want to die. Like they have no survival instincts whatsoever and they're so fragile. Great detective work. That's a huge relief. That's what I was worried about. Personally. You didn't. I don't think she did she? That was unsolicited information. She's like, come sit here and take this blast. Some sort of ceremony? What? What? Yeah, this is sort of shocking. I thought that was a flashback. She's super young. Although it makes sense, like, considering we know the previous emperor had a taste for younger girls in contrast to our modern conventions. She commands your attention and cowering. She has a presence. Oh. She was also an apothecary? Yeah, and she really hated the other empress, it seems. If Jinshi's childhood flashback is anything to believe. Oh, that's really positive for our modern conventions. We like her then.
妓女のように自分の身を担保に借金をする場合、雇用に近い合法として扱われる。ただ、傍から見れば妓女も奴隷に見えないことも。
What does it mean to be free? What is freedom and what is a slave?
表向きは廃止された奴隷制度だが。
This is very interesting commentary. I don't think those two things are the same. And I'm also not really sure we need to compare. Because it wouldn't be the category that makes something good or bad. It would be something more fundamental than that, right? Like just harm befalling people when it need not. Mistakes being made over and over again. I mean, I think I've heard modern equivalents of this about how like in the modern world, slavery is like the wage system and we're tricked into thinking we have freedom when we don't. Not to say there aren't interesting points for consideration there, but there also is like actual good old fashioned traditional slavery in the world still, where people are involved in all manner of horrible things at the threat of death and violence. We can talk about an individual problem in terms of the individual problem. You know, we don't need to like redraw lines. Taking for granted the template of what Mamo's saying, predatory relationships, dynamics, whatever, those are real. They do exist. But what I think is often missed in the analysis of this is that it's very one-sided because it seems like we like to look at things through the lens of there is one person who is wrong and there's one person who's a victim. When quite often, at least the way it occurs, I think, in the society I'm most familiar with, there is at least some interplay. People are sometimes put forth as victims of consumerism, where like it's all marketing campaigns and people are convinced that they need things that they don't actually need, or this is the Fight Club thing. And it does seem like there's something to that and it makes intuitive sense, right? But then there's another element of that, which is like the consumers are also making choices. It's more just soft influence and pressure. And yeah, that is a force, but I think maybe the best way or an overlooked way to reduce this problem is to stop seeing it as victimhood and start pushing more in the direction of you have responsibility for your life and choices, and yes, you do have a choice about everything, and it's up to you to figure out what the best choices are, and you have to educate yourself about like the dangers. You can't erase that sort of parasitic or wolf-like element from society. It's like playing whack-a-mole. Is it not one level deeper to like try to make people stronger at the root, you know, so that the disease bears no risk rather than try to kill every bacteria? A lot of the time, of course not always, but like in many cases, when people tell you about their problems, if you go deep enough into it, you realize that to a large degree they're engaging in behaviors that sort of reinforce the problem. Repeated patterns, a lot of the time there's some willing engagement happening there. Like, for example, for whatever reason, you don't have a very realistic expectation of what will happen when you go out into the world. And then when you're met with failure, rather than, you know, look at it optimistically and try to figure out your way to success and be patient with it, etc., there's bitterness and like you blame something about society or some group or whatever, which of course doesn't help, you know, probably makes things worse. And so now you're more bitter and it just spirals, and then like you're not helping yourself, you're not helping anyone, but your story will be it's because of like this, that, or the other thing. But like no one cares and your story doesn't get you any closer to what you want or need. Or like people will chase a very specific path in life because they are under the impression that it'll solve all their problems. And then when it doesn't, instead of reflecting, they will try to re-up or go further along that spectrum towards that thing they were chasing. Freedom is an interesting thing. Like it's sort of infinitely deep, but I get increasingly convinced that it's a way, way more personal thing and more self-selected thing than it might initially appear. And maybe it's that realization or being on that scale at all that is the measure of how free one truly is. I'll be watching you. Wasting time.
皇太后様が診療所に向かっているのは先日の水晶宮の一件と何か関係があるのだろうか。
Alright, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know she was still alive, or I forgot.
そんな話ならぜひ聞きたいが。
Into your factory or storage room or whatever with you.
最近怒らせてばかりだからな。
Since the beginning of the show, yes, if that's what you mean by lately.
とうとういびりが始まったのかと思ったが。
甘いわよ。
Are they helping?
他の次女たちもダメ出しを食らって。
Okay, okay.
いつもよりね。
It's just Hongyang,
誇り一つ残さ
who
ないで
also
ね。
never falls for trends.
なんだ
I'll bet it's the Empress Dowager. Yep.
お久しぶりです。安氏様。
Anshi.
皇太后様だった。
Yep.
体に変わりはなくて。
Is she noticing? I'm noticing that you're pregnant.
皇太后様は玉葉様の妊娠をご存知なのか。
She has purple eyes too. Just like a certain male character that we know.
確か人氏の元より手配された次女よね。
Her voice sounds familiar.
はい、そうですが、なぜ知ってる？
睡蓮から
She knows a lot.
仕事がある
you
子が皇
say.
居に戻ったって。睡蓮は昔 私の次女をしていたのよ。
Oh, it's the wait. These names are so confusing. Suiren is the old lady. What's the name of the lady that came back from the dead? Suirei. Jeez. Okay, so in that case, Empress Dowager passed her lady in waiting to Jinchi. What a coincidence. Also, a girl worth training in medicine. So you also are an apothecary. You could be the one. I mean, I don't have any conviction that this is the case, but we're currently speculating about who could have taught Shin about potions and stuff. Seems like Lady Dowager knows a good deal about that. Maybe she sent Suiren to keep an eye on Jinchi. I don't know.
アンシ様、申し訳ありませんが、リンリーが疲れたようなので、寝かしつけてきてもよろしいでしょうか。
Something ominous about this.
え？
You're holding my kid for a very long time, Lady Anchi.
察しのいい子ね。
Yeah, I mean, Lady Gyokoko is very, very, very observant in people's minds. She could just read their faces. That's why she's always laughing around Jinchi and Mamo. I thought that was her asking Anchi to leave, but actually it was her making herself scarce. Oh, I see. She gave her a little look. Man, she is good. I totally missed that. Lady Gyokoko misses nothing. No social cues. Makes sense why she's so high.
さあ、そこにおかけなさい。
はい。
It's a little bit scary.
いろいろな問題ごとを解決しているそうね。
Yeah, everyone's problems and other things
自
too.
分が持っている知識の中で状況に当てはまるものを提示しているだけ
Some
です。
necessary humility, but that's not all it is.
突飛な想像力もなければ、親父のような博識さもない。
Sure.
前もって言っておかないと落ち着かないし。
It is a lot of pressure,
そ
yeah.
れが心情だから。
It's smart. I mean, like, you want to set expectations in a reasonable way and then outperform. Under promise and over deliver. That ice is a melting.
わかる範囲でいいの。調べてもらいたいのよ。
Suspicious. I'm just suspicious of you, but like, what else is new?
私は、先の帝に呪いをかけたのかしら。
No. Mystery solved. The hell does that mean? What are you talking about? Okay, paranoid taking over here. This could be a test to determine how much of a threat Mamo is. Because Mamo is a threat, right? Like to anybody who's doing malicious things or to anybody who is vying for power among Jinchi or the Emperor. Mamo has an increasing amount of influence and she's going to come into people's notice. This was the thing from the beginning that was so obvious, like starting with the first opening where, you know, I'm just a little flower, don't bloom because you get plucked. Well, Mamo has definitely bloomed. I mean, just last episode, she was raised as a contender for head concubine from the current emperor. And just cynically, the whole like, oh, she abolished slavery and she abolished eunuch system and she did all these wonderful things could be a misdirected to her character, you know? We're supposed to give her immediate points for that, but who knows? The dualities of man.
呪いか。
Can I get a little more information?
具体、バカ殿、女帝の傀儡。
Yeah, we saw a little bit about that.
取り込んだろうか。
Yeah, there seems to be some evidence for that too.
政略結婚や借金の方に幼い妻をめとることはある。
What is with all this loan collateral? The world capital of loans. Their main export is financial services.
先帝は妙齢の女官が数多くいる中で、一番幼い娘にばかり手を出
Yeah,
し
it's way worse if you like it.
皇太后様の腹には傷がある。今の帝を出産される際、
C-section?
まだ体が育ちきっ
Yikes.
その出産を手伝うために
Uh-huh.
わざわざ宦官にさせられたのが、
Oh, so that's his actual eunuch origin.
王帝は本当に先帝の子なのか。うわ、こんな
This is a
こと
long
口にしたら
time
打ち
coming.
首にされかねない。
You do have a habit of muttering to yourself. It's a good thing we're in this factory. Okay, yeah, so that explains her youth. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty convinced that Jinchi is not a brother, but the current emperor's son, making him next in line. This may have been touched on already, but I'm unclear on it. Let's say the swap happened. How much would Empress Dowager know? I feel like the sending Suiren to Jinchi maybe is evidence of the fact that she doesn't, or that she suspects, but not that she knows definitively that Jinchi's not her son. Otherwise, what would be the impetus, you know? Unless she's just really sweet, you know, she's nice and she knew that Jinchi was not her son, but she wanted to take care of him anyway, which is certainly possible. Like, if she is someone of really great character, that would make a lot of sense.
数日後、皇太后様が茶会という形で上級妃4人が集まる場を設けてくれた。
There's a plot underfoot.
玉葉様は妊娠初期の眠くなりやすい症状が続いている。
This is something I feel like media never shows for some reason. I don't know. Like in media, when women get pregnant, they have a scene. There's a moment where they wake up and then rush to the bathroom to throw up. And then like it flashes forward to the results of the pregnancy test and they find out they're pregnant. And that's the last you ever see of the nausea. Not realizing that that's like the whole first trimester for some people. And like for some people, the whole pregnancy. Sleepy. I mean, that's lucky. if that's your symptom. Even in this show, I think that's how it was hinted at, right? I can't remember if it was Gokukyo or Lihua, but like they looked a little bit uncomfortable. But then since then, Lady Gokukyo's been fine. You know, she's chilling, going on romps out in the garden. She's like me for real. Super suspicious. That's exactly how you get blindsided.
もともと気ぐらいの高いリファ妃は相手を貶めることはしない。玉葉様としても、より血統の尊いリファ妃と喧嘩するのは賢い選択ではない。
It's a little bit different from my initial impression of Lihua back in season 1, where I thought she was super competitive with Gokukyo, and Gokukyo won because she sat it out.
リーシュ妃が言うとすれば、次女にそそのかされた場合だが、
And she would fold under the pressure.
あるとすれば、ローラン妃。
And we know very little about her, except that she looks very bored.
不思議なほど噂が回ってこない。
And might have a twin.
ちょっといい？
はい。
I need you on high alert today. There's so much that could go down.
今日の毒味は私がするわ。そういう流れって。
Why?
わかるわね。
Why?
皇太后様が用意した席では毒味役をつけない。ということで、信頼していることを示すってことか。
I don't know if that's a great idea. Why do we need her to feel we trust her? What do we need to prove to her? Yeah, we're investigating this vague curse that we haven't seen the explanation for yet. So this also means she couldn't have done the tasting anyway. I want to let you know that I know. Oh my god, Kabedon. She wouldn't. And not because of a threat. That's sort of insulting, actually. Like, you think a threat is going to be the highest motivation to not betray Gokukyo, someone who I'm friends with and who's been so nice to me? I don't really care about your opinion, actually, now, after you threatened me.
やはり玉葉様の事情が知らなだけある。
Does she? I'm kind of tired of all these head ladies. None of them are really that great. And then it turns out that a lot of them actually are just terrible and cruel and murderous. And critically, not the head concubine. They're just the ladies. Best servant is still like kind of not that great. So please stop threatening me.
皇太后様の用事と言ったら呪いの剣だよな。
Out of the way.
お待たせしました。
Oh. Thought some peasant was interfering with our work. This is another head lady.
人の気配はないが、塵一つないほど掃除は行き届いている。
Sure is a big palace.
先へは入れません。この先は掃除のものも入室を許可されておりませんので。
Okay. Be a great place for a murder. Oh, what the hell? I thought it was blood, but then there's like multiple colors on the floor.
女帝と呼ばれた方の部屋であり、先帝が育まれた場所でもあり、見まかられた場所でもあります。場所を変えましょう。
Wait, who is this lady? I'm confused.
晩年、先帝と女帝と呼ばれた母君
The
は
so-called
あの部屋に
Empress.
こもることが多くなりました。
Uh-huh.
先帝は気が弱っていたのか、女帝の死後、後を追うようにあの部屋で息を引き取りました。
Uh-huh.
呪いなどないと私も申し上げました。しかしアンシ様は
Have you checked if there's any
私が呪った
rhododendron?
いなくなればいいと。ずっとずっと。
Uh-huh.
翌年、主上とアンシ様は先帝を埋葬するためご遺体をご覧になったのですが、
It was
ご遺体は亡くなられた時とほぼ同じ姿で残っていたのです。
some kind of preservative?
なるほどね。
Okay. So the so-called Empress referred not to Anshi, but to that older lady we saw. Man, this is so confusing sometimes with the generations and the lineage and stuff. Okay, so I keep thinking back to Jinshi's dream. That was Lady Anshi, who's the Empress Dowager. And she hated that Empress, the current Empress at the time, who was in control or controlling the Emperor, who was sort of this like weak, feeble man, it seemed, under her thumb. And now we're learning that Anshi hated the Emperor also. Maybe she like felt that the Empress actually was responsible for whatever happened. Her treatment under the Emperor, who she clearly hates. Maybe she was complicit in some of it or something like that. I know that's often the case, like in abusive households, for example. A lot of times the takeaway later is, in addition to the animosity you have for the person who actually was doing the harm, there's this different sort of special kind of animosity for the person who just stood back and watched it happen. Or maybe enabled it or something. But anyway, what's with the Emperor not decaying at all in a year? He had a lot of salty diet.
霊廟は夏でも涼しいが、遺体は氷漬けにでもしない限り、
Yes.
放置すれば腐って虫が湧き、干からびる。
Yes.
そうならなかったというのは確か
Right.
に異
My
常。
mama herself just listed a
人
possible
は皆
explanation.
土に帰る。天井人も農民も同じだ。
Not Shaolan, though. Not Shaolan.
一つ
This is more than just
お願いがある。
curse suspicions.
お願い？
Who do you think you are? I guess we'll find out eventually. That time is not now. Very weird. Okay, this feels like maybe some of the main plot stuff. This is pretty big, right? This is like an emperor's death and then a weird succession and clear bad blood and animosity that might still be around in some form. The Emperor Dowager's edition just feels huge. I mean, it's kind of cool that was her impact walking in, right? Like Mama and Shaolin cower. I kind of feel that way as a viewer looking at the story. This is not the same world anymore now that Anshi is a focal point and a possible suspect for the death of the previous emperor.